Hi everyone, I'm Tara Lon. Welcome to Time Out with Tinseltown Mom. I'm here today with Delphia Brewton, a 14-year survivor of domestic abuse. Through her company, Blessings from My Heart to Your Table, Delphia provides female survivors of domestic violence a second chance to start fresh and empowers them to pursue new careers. Today, she's going to talk about how she found the strength to get herself and her kids out of an abusive relationship, and she'll offer encouragement to those who find themselves in a similar predicament. She'll also offer suggestions to parents to help their daughter look out for signs that the person that they're dating may be an abuser. On October 23rd, her company and 12-time Grammy winner, CeCe Winans, are joining forces for an event that will help survivors of domestic violence. We have a lot to talk about today. Hi, Delphia, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited for you to be here and tell your story and just encourage so many people. So thank you. So before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am a single mother here in Tacoma, Washington, and I'm the executive chef of Blessings from My Heart to Your Table and the CEO, of our nonprofit, Blessings from My Heart to Your Table Foundation.
Okay, great. So again, thank you for being here. I do want to start by you just talking about your story, which, we've talked about in the intro. You are a survivor of domestic violence. Can we just start by you telling us when you first met your abuser, how old you were, and just tell us about that scenario?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. I was 19 years old when I first met my abuser, and I was actually studying to become a political science major. What I was studying political science in college to become a juvenile defense attorney, and that was my goal and at that time. And I met him about the end of my first year in college, so I was 19 years old, and it went on from there. It seemed like it was wonderful. It seemed like it was great. Um, he was the knight in shiny armor, and riding on that white horse. Thought he was just amazing. Just said the right things, act the right way, and didn't see any signs in the very, very, very beginning. But over time, and actually very quickly, I did see signs of abuse.
So he was a fellow student?
He was not. He was in the military, and actually
Oh.
had just came back from it was actually when the Kuwait War just took off. So after 9/11 happened, um, that's when I actually I met him. So he was in that war, and he had just come back from war. I didn't know that, and he had just came back from war. So he was very buff, very very well spoken, and just very different from what I was used to experiencing from men in general. So I easily fell in love with him.
Yeah. So just in retrospect, do you think maybe there was some PTSD, like him first coming back?
Absolutely. Over time, I realized it wasn't just post-traumatic stress disorder from the military. It had a lot of trauma it had a lot to do with the trauma he experienced from his childhood as well. And a lot of things, all the things that has happened to him over time, he never healed. He never wanted to admit that he was hurting.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, just looking back, and just for mothers who may be listening, they have daughters who are dating and maybe just dating also, just teenagers, just starting college. What are some signs that people should look out for if they suspect that they may be dating someone who's an abuser, or they suspect their child is dating someone who's an abuser?
Oh yeah, the signs are so clear, and the signs were clear then. Is what I did then was I covered it all with love. I said, oh, I can love him through this. I can change him, right? And that's one thing that we as women do. We look at a man and we say, oh, I can change this about them, and that's just never ever going to happen. We're never going to change a grown individual. They have to do it themselves. But there are some telltale signs. For one, is control. And they may come in very subtle ways. They're not as obviously outspoken as they become later on in the relationship, but the very subtle things like giving you a list of things to do for the day. I want you to do this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I want you to call me at this time each day. or if not saying it out loud, but making sure that they call you at the same time, taking control of your day. Every hour of the day, they have to talk to you. They have to know where you are. They have to know who you're talking to, you know, and things like that. So you want to make sure of those signs. Wanting just to be with you all the time, and you can never be apart. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. It's not healthy for married couples to be together all the
Yeah.
time. It's not healthy for dating people to be together all the time and having to know every detail of their operations throughout that day. It's just not healthy. So those are some really good telltale signs that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, if he or she gets angry very quickly about little things, that's a very, very telltale sign. Another thing is that if you're on, dating, on a date, and you make a compliment, not a compliment, but a remark saying, "Oh, that person bumped me," and then they say sorry, something like that, and they get really angry. They want to fight. That's an issue. That's a big issue. You know, and things like that. Or someone compliments you, and then they want to fight. Something like that. So things like that you want to take a look out for.
Yeah. And I imagine just a young person, maybe it's their first boyfriend, some of that stuff like, oh, they always want to be with me. They're always checking in. They think it's cute and, endearing. But then I'm sure it progressively just gets worse over time.
Oh
Is that
yeah.
what happened to you?
Absolutely. It gets worse over time, and it's really not cute, and it really is not allowing you to be your best self because you're not able to work on yourself always with them and become the best version of yourself when you're always with them. You're not
Right.
able to focus on the things that you need to accomplish and be focus driven when you're always with them, you know. And so you stop living your life and you're just with them, and they're living their life and telling you what to do. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, absolutely.
Yeah, I think just any parents that may be listening, like those red flags that you mentioned. I mean, I think that's good to talk to their daughters, like when they do start dating. Because that's important what you just mentioned. I think a lot of parents talk to their kids about dating, but they may talk about other things, not necessarily signs to look out for that may be potentially harmful for them. So I think that's great that you're bringing these things up and bringing it to light. So just going back to your story, you're 19, you meet this wonderful guy. He starts controlling you, controlling your life. So I know you married him, right? Eventually. Like,
Right.
did you have any red flags for yourself before you decided to marry him?
Oh, yeah, many red flags. And again, I just said, oh, I'll love him through it. It's okay. It's okay. If this is all that's wrong, then I have nothing to worry about. Oh, I had the world to worry about, and I should have listened. And like, there's one thing that he did say that was really a big red flag for me. As I mentioned to you, I was in college, in my first year of college, and he proposed to me after a month after meeting me, literally a month
A
after meeting,
month. Wow.
1 month. And I was so excited, but I told him, I said, listen, let's wait 5 years. I want to graduate, start my career, and then let's think about that. And he looked at me with a cold stare and said, if you do not marry me now, I'm not marrying you at all. And for me, I was 19. He was my first boyfriend. I was a virgin when I married. I had never really been with the opposite gender at all, ever. And so this was like, oh, well, if I don't do this now, then I'll never have this opportunity again. I thought of myself as being a smart individual, never being as beautiful. So I already had that issue coming into the marriage. I didn't think I was all, glamorous. So I thought for sure, oh, he has interest in me. Nobody else does. So this will not come again. And I went ahead and I married him. And it was the worst decision I've ever made.
A month later, you married him.
A month later, so we met in May. We married in June.
Wow. What did your parents say?
My parents were very distraught because they know exactly how hard I worked to get to the University of Washington, which is where I was going. And I got accepted there. And I was the first one to go to college in my entire family, not just being my immediate family, my entire family. And so I was really like that golden child. My father was addicted to drugs growing up. My mother was a hardworking lady, but she was still yet illiterate. So I was really, really independent, and I had to become very strong very fast to achieve goals in my life. It was very, very hard for me to do this. I grew up in environments where there was just crime and drugs. That's it, you know. And yet I powered through that to graduate at the top of my class, commencement speaker, all these things, and vice president of my class still to this day. And I still came to the situation feeling very insecure, even though I had accomplished so much. I had hurt that I had not dealt with before in my own past. So they were heartbroken that I had powered through all this turmoil through my childhood to let somebody who did not care about me just stomp it all out of me,
Yeah.
just make it like it didn't matter.
So you literally put your career and your ambitions aside when you married him?
Absolutely everything to be, because he was in the military, and he didn't let me finish school. He did not let me finish. And this is the things that we as parents, we see things in other people. We get a feeling, we get an unction. When we look at certain folks, when we start talking to certain people, we get an unction about it, a feel for that person. As parents, we have to let our children say, and I don't think that's the right person you ought to be talking to. I don't think that's the right person you should be engaging with. I just don't feel good about that person. My parents did that. They said, Delphia, I don't think that's that's not a good thing. In fact, my father didn't even come to the wedding. He didn't even come. And in fact, most people left before I said I do.
Wow.
That's how distraught they were, because they seen something that I did not see. We have to let our children know, listen, we are older for a reason. We're your parents for a reason. We
Yeah.
see things that you don't see, and you're not thinking about the 10 and 5 years from now. You're thinking about the right now. And we have to let our children know and have that trust with our children that they can, trust our valid opinion about other people in our lives.
Before you married him, was he verbally abusive, physically abusive? Like what type of abuse did he hurl at you?
It was more so in the beginning. It was more of emotional, if you will. It was like he was telling me, and it was almost verbal. I mean, emotional and verbal kind of go hand in hand. Is telling me, you really can't be this great lawyer that you're going to be. You're really not a great speaker. You grew up in the church, but I'm gonna teach you something that you don't know. You really are not. You don't really know God.
Yeah, manipulation.
Manipulation. Let me teach you the new way of learning God. So it was really spiritual abuse. It was a lot of emotional abuse, and again, control. Like he would lend me his car for the day. I had my own vehicle, but he would say, you drive my car, and you come and get me from work.
Yeah.
Things,
Yeah.
just a lot of control.
Right. And when you married him, when did things get much worse for you after you got married? What did
Oh,
that look like?
it happened very quickly. It was jaw dropping. Like, I cannot believe this. What am I into? It was very quickly. It was less than a month, actually, before things started spiraling out of control. And it started out with him, doing things that I had not experienced him doing, looking at pornography, and then, kind of just waving it off, you know, saying, okay, we have a date, and then he'll not come home. So it started off stuff like that. And then the abuse started. I'm pregnant, no food in the house, and he's going out to eat on dates with other women.
Wow.
And him telling me about it, or him on the phone with them, in the other room. So that kind of stuff was going on, and then the physical started happening soon after. Just very, 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 very abusive to me and my young newborn baby. So.
Oh, wow. Now, did you feel like you were all alone in your situation? You had no place to go, or you couldn't talk to your parents? Like, what were you feeling during that time?
I felt embarrassed.
Yeah.
What a failure. That's what it felt like. It's like, wow, why would I leave the environment that I grew up in to get to this? Why would I do that? Why would I be this outspoken golden child in Washington State, doing speaking engagements all over the state and even the country? Why would I allow myself in this situation? Such a failure. I hid my face. Like, I didn't want anybody to know. But I couldn't really hide it from people that already had been in the situation because they knew the signs.
Mm-hmm.
They knew the signs. My mother, she knew the signs. She knew I was being abused. My
Yeah.
grandmother, she knew the signs. She knew I was being abused. You see, all I did was repeat the cycle. And I had no idea that I was repeating the cycle of abuse until my grandmother sat me down and she looked at me. She said, Delphia, look at that picture over there. She showed me a high school picture of myself. And she said, you look like that every day. You used to look like that every day. Like you came out of a magazine every day. She said, now I don't even recognize you. I don't even recognize you. I don't know what you don't look anything like that. She said, when you marry somebody, it's supposed to make you better, not worse.
Mm.
And I just bawled crying because I knew that she knew at that point. I knew that she knew, and I wasn't hiding it from her. And so that's just the journey that I had to go through to heal and to get better. But even though that she knew that I was going through it, she would often pray for. She'd call me and she would pray for me and tell me, you can come over here anytime you want. She would bring me food because there's times we had nothing, nothing. He would go out and eat very good food, and we would have nothing.
Mm. So this was a generational curse. This is how I would refer to it. Is that would be accurate
Absolutely,
for you? Yeah.
absolutely. And I had to break it. I had to
Yeah.
break it. It wasn't going to keep me, bound. And I didn't know how to break it, but through the grace of God, and that's really the grace of God that it broke off of me, and so that I can make sure my daughter. I only have one daughter, one daughter and three sons. Make sure that they don't repeat that cycle of
Right.
abuse.
Right. Now you had all four children with this person?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Now we can tread lightly with this, but was he abusive towards your children at all?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was abusive, very abusive. He would lock them in rooms, like literally lock them in rooms, and it's just very, very. He was a disciplinary, but very abusive. Okay, in the way that he did it, and maybe took it way too far. And he just, yeah, very abusive.
Yeah. So tell us about that pivotal moment that happened for you that made you realize you had to get yourself some help and out of the situation. And how old were your kids when this happened?
Yeah, this wasn't just a one-time thing. Abuse, like we talked about, it starts off as the emotional part. Once they got you emotionally, they know they can do whatever they want to do to you physically, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so we left many times. We left so many times I can't even keep track anymore. How many times we left and tried to get help that I needed for me and my children. The problem I kept running into that when I did that was that I was always homeless at that point. It was like, or I was in a war situation. You know, so it was very hard for me to get out and to stay out because of the lack of job skills, because of the insecurities, because of the brokenness, because a whole lot of host of things, right? Just didn't have a lot of things. I didn't have anything but the clothes on my back and the children that I have given birth to, and they too only the clothes on their backs. So starting over with nothing, very difficult to do. So it wasn't until I was lying breathless on my bathroom floor, literally.
What did he do to you to put you in that position?
You're the first person I really has asked that question. I'm going to answer it. So this is the first time people will hear me say this, and that is he was literally strangling me while sitting on my abdomen, while putting clothes in my mouth. Every air supply in my body was cut off. Um, he was stuffing clothes in my mouth, sitting on my abdomen, and strangling me.
Wow.
And then his knees was pinning my hand, both of my wrists down to the ground. So I was literally strangled to death, if you will.
Yeah. Now, how did you get out of that situation? Did he just stop, or did someone come to help you?
There was nobody that helped me except for my children. My children, I can hear them. I mean, my eyes were closed. I kept them closed for a reason. I knew that if I moved to the left, to the right, his weight of his body, I would literally, I'd be out. I would have no chance. I didn't fight it. I just kind of laid still. And I closed my eyes and just relaxed. Let him just straighten, relax. But it was very painful. But anyway, just kind of just laid there. And my son, I can remember hearing him say, "Get off of my mommy, get off of my mommy. I'm gonna go get the neighbors. I'm going to get the neighbors." And I remember him saying, "If you get the neighbors, I'm gonna whoop your behind. You better not leave this house." And so he stayed there. But I remember my son just going, still staying at him. Get off my mom, get off my mom. And he's like, "You're gonna kill her, you're gonna kill her." And that's exactly what he said. He said, "This is what the abuser was saying. I wish you were dead already. I wish you were dead already." I can hear him saying those things to me. And anyway, in my mind, while all this chaos is going on, I just internally called on Jesus. Just like that, Jesus. And immediately he stopped. He stopped.
Wow.
And he got up. And I literally just said, "Jesus," inside. But as he's strangling me, I'm going in and out, like I'm fading in and out, in and out, in and out, blacking out, blacking out. And I'm really struggling, fighting for my life. And I just called on Jesus. Yeah.
And
And then
he helped you. Jesus helped you out of that situation. He saved you.
he did. He did. He saved my life. And he literally, it was October 23rd of 2013.
Oh, and that's when your event is coming up, right? October 23rd.
That's right.
Wow. Was that intentional? Is that why you wanted the event to happen on that day?
It was not really intentional. What it was I wanted that date this year. This concert had been planned about a year ago. So it's been in the making for over a year. And I originally wanted that date with CeCe Winans, and that date was booked for her at first. And then COVID happened. And so the date had changed like 3 times. And then the next time they came around, they said, "Okay, COVID, now we have availability. What date do you want? We have all October and November open. You choose the date and we'll be there." I said, "Okay, October 23rd." And so they
That's
said, "Okay."
amazing. Yeah, we're going to talk about that event. I want to just back up a little bit and just talk about, so that day you were lying breathless. So how old were your kids, and what did you do to get help from that point on, to get out of that environment?
At that time, my children were very young. They all were elementary school. I believe I had a kindergartner, I have a first grade and second grade. So they was just like that. Yeah. Kindergarten all the way to first grade. Third grade. Yeah, third grade. So it was kindergarten, first grade, and third grade. That's what it was. And so very, very young. But
Well, you had one more, though. You have 4 kids.
I have 4. And that 4th one came as after I got out of the situation. He came by, and I will get into that.
Okay.
But, for sure, those were the ages of my children at that point. And I don't exactly remember exactly how it all happened, but I do know that my grandmother and my mother came and got me. I called them, and they came and got me. They took me to the hospital. And they, did the examination in the hospital. They kept me for a little bit, make sure I was good. And then immediately when I got out, actually when I was speaking with a social worker then and filing reports then while I was in the hospital. And then soon after, I went to one of my partners. They're now my partners, but at that point they were helping me. And that was the Crystal Justice Center. I went there, and my grandmother, she told me, she said, "Listen, it's going to be hard, but I want you to tell him everything he's ever done to you. Everything." She said, "Don't you forget nothing. And if you take your time and do it." And that's exactly what I did. It was a very long, painful day for me on that day because I spoke with the advocate all day. And then they came in with a police officer, detective, and I told them the story. Everything. I left nothing off the table. Nothing. And then after that, I stayed with, everybody that I could stay with because we were homeless at that point. We had nothing. I was bouncing around from house to house to house to house to house. Literally. with just clothes in my bag, nothing but like a little handbag of clothes. That's it. Um, and that's how I got out the situation. And then once, I was able to get my own housing because at that point I was a private chef, so I had income. I just didn't have a place to stay at that point. So once I got my own place to stay, that's when I began to kind of speak life into myself, trying to help myself heal. And what I did was it was hard. It was very painful. It was so painful that I would stand in front of the mirror at times crying, saying things like, I'm beautiful. I'm crying because I don't believe it. Saying things like, I'm worthy. I didn't believe it. I was saying things to myself that I didn't believe, hoping they would become true one day. And I did that every day. I wrote down in my binder, what I call now a vision binder, things that I wanted to be like, what I wanted to become. What do I want to see myself as? How do I look? How do I look at myself now? And what do I want to see myself as? And I did that every day. I also got a therapist, and I didn't know to get a therapist. I didn't even know how to get in touch with one, but it was my grandmother's pastor that put me in touch with a therapist. And she did it. She was my therapist for free. And she was with me the entire time. She went with me to court cases. She talked with me. She listened to me. She cried with me. And she allowed me to understand how the human brain works and how our emotions work and how I'm not crazy for falling in love with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like that. And so therapy is what helped me. Affirmations is what helped me. And being around people that love me and love me back to life, that helped me.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
what would you say to a mother listening? Maybe she's in a similar situation as yours and she's in it, like she's in the thick of it. Like, do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement right now for her? I know it's
Yeah.
a very broad question because every situation's different, but just like anything immediate you could say.
For any mother that's listening to me right now, I just want you to know that you have to fight for your child. You have to fight for your child. You really do, and not let up. My grandmother and my mother, they fought for me. They didn't let up. They showed up when I didn't call them. They showed up, and you have to be that kind of person to just not be willing to give in the towel, not be willing to let your daughter uh, make the decisions that's harmful to herself and to her children, our future children, and that you just kind of got to stand in the gap. If you're spiritual, you got to stand in that gap and pray. But you got to actually be there. Let them know how much you love them, and just kind of show up, and be there.
Now, did your abuser, did he ever get held accountable for any of his actions?
Oh yes, absolutely. He was um, put in prison with I don't know if it was without bail. It was put in prison without bail for a little bit, and then they released him to like I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened because I mean it was so comboggled at that point in time that I remember him. He was in prison, and then they at his trial they his parent. Oh, that's okay. Sorry, his parents, not his parents. His mother was very involved in the situation, and anyway, he got out. So he got out, but he was and still is to this day a felon. Class was 3, felon, third degree felon.
Okay. Now, do you have any contact with him today?
No, I
Okay.
do. I do not. There's
Okay.
a protection order in place so that me and my children can be safe and that we can thrive forward without, without all that chaos.
Yeah. And you were with him for how long? How long were you married?
14 years.
Wow. Wow. Now, tell us about your company and how your company helps other women who have gone through what you've gone through.
So, as I mentioned before, I was a private chef, and that's how I had income to support myself when I finally left for the last time. I was able to get a house because I had income. I was able to do things and be successful, become successful because I had income. And throughout that process, I realized that even though with the therapy, with the affirmations, also what I found out was that cooking was validating for me. It helped me build my confidence in a way that I had not been able to before uh, in that abusive relationship, because it said, I love you in a way that I had not heard it, before at home from him. You know, it said, you're awesome. You can do things that you think you can't do. And that's what food did for me, because it instantly validated me every time. So that validation came from people who ate my food as a private chef. The clients that I served, they would eat it and they say, "Oh my goodness, it's so great. This is so great." That boosted my confidence so much. It made me get better and better and better each dish I prepared. And each dish I prepared, I was actually becoming better as a person, because I was having my confidence was building. And so in 2018, I decided to open this catering. I mean, not the private chef company, up into a catering company. So I closed the private chef company. We opened up a catering company, and here we are today, expanding to a restaurant to help women of abuse, women who've been traumatized by abuse, to gain the financial security that they need to support themselves and their children when they leave, because that was the biggest thing for me. I'd always go back because I was homeless, didn't have money. But if they have their own money and they have their own financial stability, and they're able to work on themselves in an environment that's conducive for their health, okay? It's not about just getting the money. It's about also healing properly, so we can get to the source of it all, heal properly, and stop that cycle, allowing them that space to release whatever emotions that they need, but at the same time make money and thrive. That's important. It's important for survivors of abuse to have those things hand in hand. I started this company for that purpose alone.
Or do you help women locally based?
We do. We help women locally based here in Tacoma and Seattle area. However, we do have a wholesale line that is national, and that's on Amazon.com and through our website that we ship our wholesale goods. And those goods actually help supply homes for survivors of abuse. So everybody can take part in that wherever you are. They can buy a wholesale product, and they can help one of these women's, secure homes.
That's so awesome. And I know we touched on the event, but can you just talk a little bit more about the event that you and CeCe Winans are spearheading?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Yes, October 23rd, here in Tacoma, Washington. This is going to be a live and virtual concert. So anybody that has an iPad, phone, computer can watch and attend this concert, because it will be virtual and live. So this concert called Survivors Night to Shine. Such a needed thing right now. And we're going to at least have 12 women there that we are sponsoring to be there for free. And everybody else is welcome to buy a ticket, but everybody's going to come and have a great time with CeCe Winans, and we have some local talent that's going to be opening acts for her. It's going to be a very, very fun night. And I would encourage everybody to come and buy a ticket, because the benefits of this concert, the proceeds of it, will help us supply more jobs for survivors of abuse, more homes and employment and all kinds of things that's in the works right now as a result to you all buying a ticket. So buy a ticket and support this cause so that we can help as many women as needed, because the need is dire, and the ask is not that much, but the need is really, really dire. There's so many people right now suffering from human trafficking, suffering from domestic violence, leaving their countries because of abuse. And we want to make sure we have a space for as many women as we can.
Thank you so much, Delphia, for sharing your story. I know that must have been painful to dredge up some of those memories, so I appreciate you being so transparent.
Oh, thank you. It was really my pleasure. It's not as painful anymore. In the beginning, it was very painful to tell the story, and so I didn't until I was ready. And so now I'm good. I can tell
Oh,
it without.
good.
No tears to cry. I'm good.
Yeah. Now, where can people find you if they want to know more about you and this upcoming event?
Yes, please buy a ticket. You can go to blessingscatering.org, and that will lead you to ticketmaster.com to buy a ticket. But if you just go to blessingscatering.org, you can be able to keep in touch with us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and also buy a ticket at ticketmaster.com. blessingscatering.org.
Thanks for listening to Time Out with Tinseltown Mom. If you liked what you heard today, please be so kind and rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, because when you do that, you get this podcast in front of more listeners. And I want to offer more encouragement to a wider audience. So any positive reviews that you can give would be so helpful. Until next time.